In this video, we'll walk through 3 different ways to set up Wave XLR Pro: console streaming, a podcast setup, and dual PC. Each setup will have its own chapter, so jump to the setup that fits you, or stick around for all 3 since the routing ideas build on each other. Before we get into each setup, here's a quick rundown of the inputs and outputs on Wave XLR Pro. On the back, you'll find 2 XLR inputs, each with independent gain and phantom power control. You'll also find 2 headphone outputs, one on the front and one on the back. Each one takes both a standard 3.5mm connector and a larger 1/4 inch. The back also has 4 more connections. USB host is the main connection to your computer. This is where Wavelink runs. USB aux is for the second device. This could be your gaming PC, a Mac, iPad, or even a PlayStation 5. For that second device, it's plug and play. Line in and line out are stereo analog 3.5mm connections that can receive and send audio to other devices or consoles. First up, console streaming. Here, the console's audio connects directly into Wave XLR Pro, and you'll be listening to the console with 0 latency. Your console can become its own input channel in Wavelink, right alongside your microphone. And your capture card's job is only for the video. Which connection you use depends on the console. First, setting up with PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. Start by connecting your XLR microphone to XLR1 and your headphones to the front or rear headphone output. Then connect Wave XLR Pro to your streaming computer via USB-C in the USB host port. Connect a USB-C cable from the PS5 into the USB aux port on the back of Wave XLR Pro. Almost instantly, you'll see that the PlayStation 5 console recognizes Wave XLR Pro by name inside of its own audio settings. From the perspective of the PlayStation 5, Wave XLR Pro is basically a headset. You will need to make sure that the console is set to output all sound through the Wave XLR Pro device, and the microphone is set to Wave XLR Pro as well. The wiring is now all complete. Over inside of Wavelink, you will need to have XLR Mic 1 and USB aux as input channels in the mixer view. Since Wave XLR Pro is software controlled, this is also where you'll dial in your microphone. On the XLR Mic 1 channel, enable 48-volt phantom power if you're using a condenser microphone, or leave it off if you're using a dynamic microphone like Wave DX. Then, run the auto gain wizard and speak at your normal volume so it can set your gain properly. To listen to your microphone, add XLR Mic 1 to Personal Mix. And to hear the PS5, add USB aux to the Personal Mix as well. If you're using any effects or VSTs that add delay, make sure to enable direct monitoring in the mixer view so that you hear yourself with 0 latency. You can make your inputs and outputs clearer by renaming them. For example, USB aux to PS5 audio. On the top right, select Headphones 1 if you're using the front port, or Headphones 2 for the back port. And then ensure the ear icon is enabled for Personal Mix, so that you can listen to your microphone, PlayStation 5, or any other software sources like browsers, music, or Discord. Next up, to send your microphone to the PlayStation 5, create a new dedicated mix on the top right. Enter its mix settings by clicking on it, and then rename it to something like PS5 mic, so it's easier to keep track of. Now, add USB out as a physical output. Once we do that, anything we add to this mix is sent directly to the PS5 over that USB connection, and the PlayStation takes it as a microphone input. You can see it in real time as the microphone is added to the PS5 mic mix. And this doesn't need to be only the microphone. You could also send sound effects, music, pretty much whatever you want. Remember as well that any of your custom Wave Effects DSP options, like voice tune, expander, and equalizer, will also carry over to the audio sent to the USB out, and therefore the PlayStation 5. This is also true of any VSTs you have running, like VoiceMod. At this point, you are fully set up with inputs and outputs with Wave XLR Pro and PlayStation 5. To set things up further for streaming or recording, you would create a third mix just for sending out to your streaming or recording apps. Add your microphone, PlayStation 5 audio, and any of your software sources and customize their faders to fit your mix's needs. Next up, Nintendo Switch, Switch 2, and Xbox Series. The routing logic is the same as with PS5. However, the ports are a little bit different. While PlayStation 5 has wide compatibility for USB audio, Xbox Series and Switch have some more restrictions and will require use of the headset port. First, you will need a 4-pole to dual 3-pole adapter like this. We'll also have some linked down in the description. This adapter is splitting the combined mic and headphone port that is used on the Switch console and Xbox controller into separate 3.5mm connectors for the microphone and headphones. From here, these are connected to the line out and line in on Wave XLR Pro. Specifically, the microphone from the adapter connects to line out, and headphones from the adapter connect to line in. Over in Wavelink, you'll have XLR Mic 1 and line in as your input channels in the mixer view on the left. Just like before, enable phantom power on XLR Mic 1 if your mic needs it. Then run the auto gain wizard to set your level. To listen to your microphone, add XLR Mic 1 to the personal mix and turn on direct monitoring if any of your VST effects add delay. To hear the console, add that same line-in channel to the personal mix as well. You can make things clearer by renaming line-in to something like Switch Audio or Xbox Audio. On the top right, make sure to select Headphones 1 if you're using the front port, or Headphones 2 for the back. And ensure the ear icon is enabled for personal mix. Any other software sources can be added to personal mix as well, like browser, music, or Discord, etc. To send your microphone back to the console, create a new dedicated mix, then enter its mix options and rename it to something like Console Mic. Now add line out as the physical output. Anything added to this mix will now travel through line out, through the adapter, and then back into the console's microphone input. Like with PlayStation 5, this mix can carry more than just your microphone. Sound effects and music can be included here as well. Your Wave Effects DSP, like voice tune, expander, equalizer, and any VSTs you have running, will also carry over to the signal sent through line out. At this point, you are fully set up with the inputs and outputs for your Switch or Xbox. To set things up for streaming or recording, like with the PS5, create a third mix. Add your microphone, your console audio, and any other software sources, and route it out to your streaming or recording app. Next, setting up for a podcast. Wave XLR Pro's multiple inputs and outputs can accept multiple microphones and audio sources while sending different headphone mixes to different hosts. And here's how it's all configured. The first step is to connect both microphones to XLR1 and XLR2. Then, 2 sets of headphones to the front and back of Wave XLR Pro. These need to be connected to different headphone outputs, like 1 and 2, to have different mixes. Connect the producer's PC to USB host. The producer listens through headphones plugged into their own PC, so the 2 physical headphone outputs on Wave XLR Pro stay open and dedicated for your 2 hosts. Then connect your iPad or maybe a laptop to USB aux for the hosts to use. And the wiring is now complete for Wave XLR Pro. Any further connections would be the extra headset that the producer may use on the host PC, which is configured in Wavelink. Inside of the mixer view, you'll want to make sure XLR Mic 1 and XLR Mic 2 are added as input channels. Then also USB aux for your separate device. This is the iPad or laptop. If that producer has their own headset or their own mic, you'll add this as another hardware input the same way. It's good to rename each of these inputs to match where they're coming from, like host 1, host 2, laptop, and producer. Now for the mixes. The first mix will be for the host on XLR Mic 1. This can also be named host 1. Then set the physical output to headphones 1, which is the front port. Same goes for host 2, and then the producer's headphones. If you have some remote guest on a video call, add your Zoom, Discord, and Teams apps as a channel as well. and then create a specific mix for them. And finally, the mix that's sent out to a broadcast or is recorded. Time for routing. It's easiest to follow it step by step with who needs to hear what. So first off, host 1's microphone will go to their headphones in the host 1 mix, so they hear themselves. Host 2 may want to hear them faintly. So add that mic to that mix, but reduce the volume on the fader. The producer will want to hear them loud and clear as well. And then the remote guest, and also out to the broadcast mix. Next up, the microphone for host 2 will be quiet in host 1's headphones, then full volume in their own headphones, and same for the producer, the remote guest, and the broadcast. The producer at times will need to talk to the hosts for cues or updates on a guest. The producer's mic will be quiet in both of the hosts' headphones. They may not want to hear themselves, so skip their mix. They will need to talk to the remote guest while prepping their segment, and then they won't need to talk to the broadcast. The remote guest will be talking to the hosts, so that's full volume. Same for the producer, but they won't need to hear themselves, so we skip their mix. And then finally, out to the broadcast. For USB aux and the laptop, or iPad, we'll add it to all the mixes. From here, you can probably follow the logic about how to decide how audio is being routed. If the producer wants to bring up their own media, then that input channel will need to be routed to each of the hosts and the guests. Maybe as the host, you are the producer. It's all flexible for whatever you're creating. And last up, duel-PC. Routing audio from your gaming PC to your streaming PC has historically been a bit messy. Wave XLR Pro makes it a single cable. The gaming PC into USB aux, streaming PC into USB host. And then Wavelink on the streaming side handles all of the controls. Here is how everything will flow in and out of Wave XLR Pro. The streaming PC into USB host, the gaming PC into USB aux, your microphone to XLR1, and headphones into 1 on the front or 2 in the back. And that is all of the connections. Everything next is handled in software. First up, on the gaming PC, head into Windows Sound Settings. For default input and output, select Wave XLR Pro USB aux. Now, all audio coming out of the gaming PC is sent into Wave XLR Pro's hardware mixer, and it treats any audio sent from Wave XLR Pro as its microphone. Inside Wavelink, add XLR Mic 1 and USB aux as input channels. The same first-time setup applies as the other scenarios. Choose the correct headphone port up on the top right and click on the ear for personal mix to listen in. To hear yourself, add XLR Mic 1 to the personal mix. And turn on direct monitoring if you have any VSTs that introduce any delay. Next, add USB aux to personal mix. Now you're hearing yourself and the gaming PC's audio with no latency. Next, add any other software sources you need like browsers, music, chat apps, Stream Deck for triggering sound effects, etc. And then route these to your personal mix to listen to. With that done, it's now time to send audio to the gaming PC. Create a second mix, name it something specific like Game PC Mic, then set the physical output to USB out. Next, route the microphone to this mix and any other sources you want the gaming PC to receive, like sound effects driven by your Stream Deck. Finally, your stream mix will take your microphone, USB aux, and any software sources you want and sends it out to stream. On the topic of voice chat, if you decide to run Discord calls on the gaming PC, keep in mind you cannot separate this audio or provide it with any different sort of microphone mix. USB aux sends one stereo signal in and one stereo signal out. Running your Discord calls on the streaming PC allows you to separate that audio, which means you can filter out voices on demand, add VSTs directly to your friends' voices, or use a specific mix just for your voice and selectively mute it when you want. Those are 3 of the most common ways to use Wave XLR Pro, and the routing logic from any of them carries over to however you end up building your setup. On the console side, PS5 connects over USB aux with a full round trip for game audio, chat, and your mic. Switch and Xbox use line in and line out through a 4-pole adapter. Same idea, different ports. For podcasting, 2 XLR microphones and 2 independent headphone mixes handle host and co-host natively. Scale it up with USB aux for a device or producer, add remote guests as software channels, and route to a broadcast mix separately. For duel-PC, the magic is in that single USB aux connection to the gaming PC. That's the whole change. Wavelink handles the rest on the streaming side with no extra software on the gaming machine or routing capture card audio. For more information on how all the settings work on Wave XLR Pro, check out our Explorer articles in the description. Subscribe to us here on YouTube to learn more about Wavelink, Wave XLR Pro, and other Elgato products. And thank you for watching.